sports, friction, and race. It's the Stephen A. Smith Show, y'all. You don't know where I'm going, but you know it's somewhere. Let's roll. What's up, everybody? Welcome to the latest edition of the Stephen A. Smith Show, coming at you as I love to do at the very least 3 times a week over the digital airwaves of YouTube. As usual, got to take a moment to give love and appreciation to my subscribers that have now eclipsed 567,000 and counting. We just continue to climb the charts. It wouldn't be possible if it wasn't for the love that you're giving me, so I appreciate the love. Keep it coming, and I'm going to keep on coming. Make sure if you want to continue to follow and subscribe to the show, you just click the bell, boom, for the Stephen A. Smith Show, and there you are. You'll be the latest subscriber. Thousands upon thousands, hundreds of thousands of people are doing it. Soon enough, it'll be millions of people doing it because I'm going to keep on coming. So y'all just keep it coming, all right? So thank you very, very much. And by the way, don't forget to go out and get my best-selling memoir, Straight Shooter, a memoir of second chances and first takes, now out in paperback. Just go to straightshooterbook.com. And the book will be right there for you, okay? Listen, a couple of items to get to today, no doubt about it, because obviously one of the things that we're going to do is we'll be talking to Charles Barkley. And essentially it's going to be a 2-parter. He'll be talking to us today. We'll air a few minutes of that, but we'll air most of that interview coming up this Friday because it was so compelling. I felt the need to make it a 2-parter, talking to him just a little bit earlier today. But prior to getting into any of that and letting you hear from Charles Barkley himself, Sir Charles himself, I felt the need to get right into something, and it involves J.J. Redick, my colleague at ESPN, and the third voice on NBA games with Doris Burke and Mike Breen replacing his former coach, Doc Rivers, okay? Here's the deal. J.J. Redick spent time on Tuesday accusing Milwaukee Bucks coach Doc Rivers of not having any accountability. On First Take, Redick, who previously played for Rivers on the Clippers from 2013 to 2017, claimed Doc is now making lots of excuses. The Bucks under coach Doc Rivers has lost 7 of their last 10 games, including 2 in a row heading into the All-Star break. Here is what J.J. Redick recently said on First Take.
I've seen the trend now. I've seen the trend for years.
What's the trend?
The trend is always making excuses. Doc, we get it. Taking over a team in the middle of the season is hard. It's hard. We get it. Just like getting traded in the middle of the season is hard for a player. We get it. But it's always an excuse. It's always throwing your team under the bus. They lose to Memphis. Oh, it's his players. Memphis was playing G League guys and two-way guys. And then you look at his quotes over the weekend. Now he wants to take credit for the James Harden trade to the Clippers working out. He wants credit for that. There's never accountability with that guy.
Now, Patrick Beverley, who currently plays for Doc Rivers in Milwaukee, spent time defending his coach from the scathing criticism by J.J. Redick. He wrote this in his social media post. This man, Doc Rivers, actually saved your career. Started you when no one else wanted to. And you retire, go on TV and say that? Question mark. Actually, there was no question mark. I apologize. Needless to say, J.J. Redick was going to have a response to that because he immediately responded to Patrick Beverley by saying, Pat, my guy, I had a 4-year offer with a player option for the same money to be a starter for a different team. F-O-H, as in fuck out of here, okay? Saved my career. That's what J.J. Redick had to say in response to Patrick Beverley. Needless to say, it was only right to hear from the son of Doc Rivers, who's Austin Rivers, who also works at ESPN, spending time on NBA Today that Tuesday afternoon, just hours after hearing what J.J. Redick said about his daddy. Listen to this.
First off, I don't feel responsible to take up for my dad. He's a grown man. He could do his own thing. But in this regard, I just simply don't agree with it. For someone who's not accountable, he seems to always be held responsible, considering he's the guy that's always fired when things don't go right. He got fired in the bubble for a 3-1 lead versus the Denver Nuggets, which in half his team didn't want to be there. They had players saying that their mind wasn't there. He had guys leave. That happened. Then he gets fired for losing to a team that was favored over him, which was the Celtics last year. It seems like he's always responsible. It's just as strange coming from JJ. And I have some love for JJ. You're my dookie. You know that. You're my bro. I love you. It's just your best years were with the Clippers. I don't think he saved your career. I appreciate you, Pat. But I don't think This just seems a little bit weird. They're 3-7. Dame has missed most of those games. Middleton's missed a lot of those games. They haven't even had their full team yet. We'll see what happens. The pressure is there. They do have to perform. But in terms of accountability, like, what are we doing here? Your best years in the NBA were when you played for him in the Clippers. Let's not forget that. I don't know if there's like frustration there or there's tension there between you. I know a lot of times we had to sit you towards the end of the game due to defensive reasons, but you had your best years as a starter there, especially our whole system was drafted around you because you're a shooter. You're not a guy who can put the ball on the floor. You were a strictly shoot guy. You're not like Klay Thompson or Steph who could put the ball on the floor. You were a guy who could catch and shoot, and you did it at a high level. Hell of a career, by the way. Big fan. But your best years were under him. It's just very ironic and kind of weird that you have this energy towards him in terms of him never, ever being accountable, considering he's always been responsible.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is one of those situations where there are an abundance of people who can be right. It's rare that I'm neutral and I don't take sides, but this is one of those times. And the reason why it's one of those times is because, listen, I've known Doc Rivers for nearly 25 years. I happen to believe he's a damn good coach. But I've seen his losses in Game 7s. I've seen his inability to get the Clippers to the conference finals and then the Philadelphia 76ers to the conference finals. He's been a head coach for 24 years, and I've been on the record saying this. If Doc Rivers, now that he's departed from television, in the middle of his contract, by the way, to take a head coaching job that most coaches would take if we're being really, really honest. You get an opportunity to coach Giannis Antetokounmpo and Damian Lillard. No matter what commitment you made as a broadcaster, you're usually going to buck that aside or throw that aside to take the head coaching job to coach at a championship level. Right or wrong, and we can say that it was wrong because he signed a contract and gave his word. The bottom line is most coaches would take that job. I'm not taking sides there, but I will say this. I've said this for the record. This is the last dance for Doc Rivers. If Doc Rivers doesn't win in Milwaukee by next season, because I don't think he'll be held extremely accountable this year, because he took over mid-season and he knows how hard it's been, as he's articulated. If he doesn't win by next year, I think his head coaching career is over. That's number one. But number two, what made it very interesting and compelling about what J.J. Redick had to say was this. J.J. Redick talked about all the excuses, no accountability, throwing people under the bus, et cetera, et cetera. Very, very, very harsh criticism. J.J. Redick obviously felt it very passionately. If you watch the scene on First Take, it wasn't a question that was prompted to and presented to J.J. Redick. J.J. Redick interrupted the proceedings to say, are we not going to talk about this? Are we not going to address that elephant in the room? Are we not going to tell us what's real? And he went in on Doc Rivers, his former coach for 4 years with the Clippers. He departed from the Clippers after the Clippers was signed on to Austin Rivers and obviously Jamal Crawford. And he had that much money tied up. And lo and behold, J.J. Redick departed from the Clippers and took a one-year, $23 million deal to play for the Philadelphia 76ers, even though he himself said he had an offer from the Houston Rockets on the table because CP3, Chris Paul, was in Houston and was recruiting him to come there. But Rivers clearly feels very, very passionate about what he feels. And in his eyes, he's giving basketball analysis, but I think it extends beyond that when you use words like lack of accountability and throwing somebody under the bus. Clearly, there's more to it than just basketball there. And if you talk to anybody who talks to Doc Rivers, that's what Doc Rivers is going to say. It's personal with he and I, and left it at that. Didn't elaborate on it when I spoke to him about it, because I called and asked Doc Rivers, but he didn't have much to say about it. So there you have it. And Austin Rivers, speaking on behalf of his father, first started out by saying his father's a grown man, he can defend himself, but then did his job and pointed out how, wait a minute, what do you mean accountability? Is not getting fired from the Clippers not being accountable? Is not getting fired from the Philadelphia 76ers not being accountable? Is not getting fired from the Orlando Magic years ago before you went to Boston? Is that not accountable? And do you really think he's not going to be accountable in Milwaukee? So everybody had very valid points to make. What I would tell you is that when you're a player as highly intellectual, as highly abreast of what basketball entails, the way J.J. Redick is, and you go in like that, you've got reason to do so. And I got the impression that J.J. Redick's words weren't just coming from him. It was coming from an abundance of players who happen to feel a certain way about Doc Rivers. And I think it's a safe bet in saying that James Harden, now a Clipper, the former Philadelphia 76ers, playing under Doc Rivers last year, is one of those players. So Make of that what you will, but keep your eyes on that because somehow, some way, I don't suspect that storyline will go anywhere. Let me get personal for a quick second here in transitioning. And the subject here is going to be a headline that I'm looking at Fox News. I didn't plan on broaching this subject because I knew nothing about this story. But this subject involves me talking, according to the headlines, about Pat McAfee. Now, I was interviewed during Super Bowl week by, Bussin' and the Boys? I believe that's the name of the podcast, if I remember correctly. These guys based out of Nashville, former NFL players who do an outstanding job with their podcast. And apparently the stuff is making headlines. And so I wanted to debunk that because I don't publicize and get into stuff with my colleagues. I don't do that. That's not how I roll. I will defend myself against any damn body, but I don't instigate anything. And when somebody tries to give the impression that I'm instigating it, then I'm going to address it. And I'm not accusing Bussin' the Boys and all of whatever the name of the podcast is. I apologize for messing up the name because I just forget. But the point is that I'm not accusing them of doing anything wrong. If they're quoting me accurately, then damn it, that's what I said. But I want to make sure that everybody understands where I'm coming from, to know that I'm not hiding. It says here, Stephen A. Smith says Pat McAfee doesn't have to be, quote, as polished politically as me, end quote, because he is white. And then it goes on to read, McAfee joined ESPN last year, blah, blah, blah. Has been a contributor on First Take, which is true. But his own show is broadcast on the network each day, and that has what had most of his viral and notorious moments. That's what they're saying, not me. The main First Take host and Stephen A. Smith called McAfee a sensational talent, which is true because I did, recently and described qualities he loves about him. Here's the quote that is on Fox News. I love Pat McAfee, love him to death. I love his swag. I love the fact that he's an honest brother. He don't give a shit. You know exactly where he stands. That's my kind of dude. That works for me. Bussin' with the Boys is the name of the podcast. Bussin' with the Boys. Okay? I did say that. It also goes on to say, but Smith said there is quite a difference between the two. Smith said he is more polished politically than McAfee for two reasons, one of them being race. And here's where it gets tricky in a lot of people's eyes. A, because he has no desire to be number one, Smith said. And number two, if we're being honest, he's white and I'm black. He doesn't have to be. I had to be. So I get all of that and I'm not knocking him for it. That quote is accurate as well. But let me contextualize. When I was talking about him having no desire to be number one, I'm talking about the number one face where you have to address everything in a political fashion. You represent Walt Disney. You got to toe the line in certain respects at times. So when you want to be the number one person, that comes with it. Because you're not just representing yourself, you're representing the company. Most people don't want that responsibility. They want to do what they want to do, the way they want to do it, how they want to do it, me included. But in the same breath, there's a political correctness that comes with a lot of things. That's what I was talking about, not talent. I was talking about politics, meaning office politics, corporate politics. That's number one. Number two, and more importantly, if we're being honest, he's white and I'm black. Did you expect me to apologize for that? I wasn't talking about Pat McAfee. He was the example because they were asking me about Pat McAfee being at ESPN. Let me be very, very clear about where I stand. That's not about Pat McAfee. That's about anybody white. The rules are different for us. The rules are different for black people. Any white person that wants to deny that, be my guest. There is history spanning decades that proves such a thing. I was not talking about Pat McAfee. I was not talking about his show. I support him and his show. The more successful they are, the more successful I become. I've said it before and I'll say it again many, many times over. Hell, whether he believes it or not, I don't even know. We've never really talked about it. I can tell you this for a fact. One of the greatest things that ever happened to somebody in my position is Pat McAfee and his show coming to ESPN and them getting paid. Because you set the market. Some people will say that and they'll call that, you know what, pocket watching. You damn right. We all do. But it's not to lament what somebody else is earning. It's to applaud them and thank them for what they're earning because our turn comes. And I'm not apologizing for that to anybody. And what will be is what will be. But as it pertains to me being black and the rules being different for me than it would be for anybody white, male or female, you damn right I said that. And I meant it. I don't care if it's Pat McAfee. I don't care if it's Mike Greenberg. I don't care if it's Tony Kornheiser. I don't care who it is. I don't care if it's Scott Van Pelt. I don't care if it's Skip Bayless. I don't care who it is. The rules are different for black people. The standard is higher. The room for error and the room for mistakes are significantly tightened compared to what it is for folks in white America. Black folks have been talking about that for ages. So I only bring that subject up to say, for those of you out there that's trying to cause some kind of schism or divide when it comes to me and a particular talent, whether it's McAfee, Greeny, Van Pelt, or anybody else, no, I don't get into that. I'm talking about black versus white. What, Taraji P. Henson was crying for nothing when she talked about how much she gets paid compared to some of her counterparts? People were rallying around, the Tyler Perrys of the world and others rallying around talking about that. Monique going off and talking about things. You think that's an accident? Do I need to line up black artists, black business folks, black professionals? The beauty and the privilege of a black athlete is that the black athlete is the one person and the one place in this country, if not this world, where their level of compensation equals that or eclipses that of their white counterparts. Everywhere else you look, that's not the case when folks are on equal settings. That's not about anybody specific. It's about the system. It's not about Disney. It's not about Fox. It's not about Comcast. It's not about Amazon or Apple or Netflix or anybody else. It's about the system. It's about it all. No matter where you turn. Black folks have been talking about this for ages. This is the beauty of having this podcast. You don't get to put out headlines and lack context and contextualize in a false manner where I was coming from. I was asked about Pat McAfee was the subject they brought up, and I gave him his props, and I always will. But make no mistake, I want to talk about him. I'm talking about black versus white. Cliff Kingsbury, didn't I bring that name up? New offensive coordinator for the Washington Commanders, former head coach for the Arizona Cardinals. Wasn't he at Texas Tech? Didn't he coach at Texas Tech for 6 seasons? Didn't he get to the postseason twice or a bowl game and lost? Didn't he turn around and come to Arizona and bypass a multitude of qualified blacks and others to get the head coaching job because of some relationship with Kyler Murray? Didn't Matt LaFleur, as in LaFleur, the Green Bay Packers, as great of a job as he did this year, wasn't he once the offensive coordinator for the 27th ranked offense, but he got a head coaching job? Didn't Steve Wilkes, a black man who was a defensive coordinator for the San Francisco 49ers, who just took them to a Super Bowl and had a top 5 defense, and oh, by the way, the defense wasn't the reason they lost the damn game, but he got fired and Kyle Shanahan kept his job? How many examples do you, that's just stuff off the top of my head. White is more right than black in corporate America. I'm not complaining about it. It is what it is. I answered the question, but it's not me against anybody, but the system that works against us. I said it and I meant it. And I can. You know why? Because I own this podcast and I run this show. This is owned and operated by me. I pay the bills. And oh, by the way, I got white folks employed by me too. Because I believe in competence and credentials. I got blacks and whites working for me. I can say it, I'm qualified. Moving on, wanted to get to the next topic because the next topic involves something that I did on First Take just the other day, but I wanted to revisit it because now that All-Star Weekend, that atrocity that took place in Indianapolis this weekend is over. God bless that I survived the weekend and I was able to come home safe and sound with all my faculties in order, even though it was 19 degrees freezing and boring as hell, I might add. Still doesn't take away from the fact that we got a great NBA season to look forward to in the second half. And so I thought it would be a good time to get into the top storylines resuming this week post All-Star Weekend. I thought it was important to give you my top 5 storylines heading in to the back end of this season, okay? So I wanted to do that for you, and I wanted to make sure that you knew where I was going with this. Number 5 on the list, okay, will be this storyline. You ready? Will the Los Angeles Clippers get to the NBA Finals? Ladies and gentlemen, James Harden hasn't missed a game and has played like a quality all-star caliber player. I can't say enough about Russell Westbrook coming off that bench and Norman Powell and the Energizer Bunny that Russell Westbrook is and the scorer that Powell is and what they bring to the table. Cannot knock it. All right? I don't know too many teams in the NBA that got cats like that coming off the bench to do some things. Before Kawhi Leonard went down before the All-Star break, did you see how he was playing? He was a legit MVP candidate. He was sensational. And Paul George has been balling too. He said he was going to play bully ball this year, and that's exactly what he's doing. Oh, by the way, did you know that they have arguably the best coach in the NBA between Ty Lue and Eric Spoelstra? Okay? I mean, I got to put Malone in there as well. He's a hell of a coach. But I'm just saying, look at what they got there. Could you imagine, and this is why this is a top 5 storyline, could you imagine, ladies and gentlemen, if LeBron James is playing for the Lakers and the Lakers are second fiddle because the Los Angeles Clippers win the crown the season before they move into their new stadium or their new arena in Inglewood? Could you imagine if opening night for the new arena is ring ceremony night? Could you imagine that? Could you imagine how that's going to make the Lakers look like Fairweather stepchilds? That's something to hold on to. Think about it. Because that might be enough provocation for LeBron James to decide I might want to leave Tinseltown and live under these conditions. I'm just saying. Number 4 on the list would be Dame Dollar, as in Damian Lillard, the reigning 2-time three-point shooting champion, and Giannis Antetokounmpo. Because guess what? They're still a top 3 seed in the Eastern Conference. They still have Giannis, who's been playing lights out. Damian Lillard, you know his struggles ain't going to last. He pulled up from half court in the All-Star game. Don't be surprised if he continues that trend come second half of the season because he closes. And if those brothers are clicking offensively, now that we've seen them improve defensively under Doc Rivers, they went from 19th in defensive efficiency, okay, to like 9th or 8th. Think about that for a second and what Giannis and Dame can bring to the table. I know defensively he's no Jrue Holiday, but Jrue Holiday ain't Damian Lillard offensively. So that's number 4 on the list. Let me go to number 3 because this is perhaps the most important one for me. Will Jason Tatum of the Boston Celtics win league MVP? You know, ladies and gentlemen, I looked up some things. And as I paid attention to some of the things that was going on, okay, I looked at some things and I said to myself, I got to talk to my crew about this. Because I'm just looking at some things right now, and I got to tell you something. When we talk about Jason Tatum, please understand, the Boston Celtics are the best team in the NBA by 4 games over Minnesota Timberwolves. They got a 6-game cushion in the Eastern Conference over the Cleveland Cavaliers. Jason Tatum is averaging 27 a game. He ain't even the highest paid player on this team. That goes to Jaylen Brown, who signed his 5-year, $304 million extension this offseason. So imagine what Jason Tatum's going to get. Because he clearly is the best player on the Boston Celtics. He's their number 1 option. Averaging 27 a night. Did you know he was number 2 in jersey sales? Steph Curry's number 1. LeBron James is number 3. Jason Tatum is number 2. And he's a Boston Celtic. Could you imagine if he won the chip? And I'm going to say this clear. I'm desperate for him to do it. Because I love the guy personally. He's a tremendous player. Tremendous role model. And oh, by the way, in terms of American-born players, we got to hold on to him because all the stars seem to be from other places. KD ain't getting younger. Steph ain't getting younger. Kyrie's consistency or lack thereof is problematic. Some of the elite players in this game, we talking Giannis, we talking Jokic, we talking Luka. They ain't from America. Embiid, he ain't from America. So when you look at it, you got to ask yourself, who's that American-born player that can take the bull by the horn, that can snatch the mantle and say, excuse me, this is the place where we invented the game of basketball. This is our town. This is what we do. That would be Jason Tatum. By the way, props to J.J. Redick when I showed that idea to him yesterday. Will the Los Angeles Clippers get to the NBA Finals? He said, will the Los Angeles Clippers win the NBA Finals? Good caveat there. Let's get to number 2 on the list right now. My favorite. Can the New York Knicks reach the Eastern Conference Finals? Hell yes, they can. Hell yes, they can. And I'm going to tell you the biggest reason why. Because they all hurt right now. Mitchell Robinson's out. OG Anunoby's out. Julius Randle is out. I'm looking at it from that standpoint. Jalen Brunson had even missed a game or so. I'm looking at it from the standpoint, get them brothers rest. Because we know if they were there, Thibodeau would be running them into the ground. Knicks would be the number 2 seed right now in the Eastern Conference. But they would be ran into the ground. Come playoff time, they'd be tired because Thibodeau don't know how to let up. And as a result, they would be compromised. But because they're hurt, chances are they're going to get back healthy. And because they're going to get back healthy, that means they're going to have fresh legs. And because they're going to have fresh legs, that means they're going to be all right. Orange and blue skies, baby. Orange and blue skies. That's what I'm thinking about. That's what I'm thinking about. So I'm going with the Knicks as my number 2 storyline. Last but not least, number 1, LeBron's last stand. LeBron swears he's not trying to go anywhere else, which means he's trying to stay in L.A. Ladies and gentlemen, I can't see the Los Angeles Lakers' chances of winning the chip being better next year and beyond than it is right now. Not with the way Anthony Davis is playing, not to mention his availability because he ain't missing games. When you couple that with the way LeBron's playing, averaging 24, 7, and 7 in his 21st season at age 39, the way D'Angelo Russell's been playing, the way Rui Hachimura came on strong. I mean, hey, I know they lost Vanderbilt, which is a loss, but Lakers got a chance. And to me, if you're not able to neutralize and nullify the run that the Los Angeles Clippers are on and find a way to derail them or at least keep up with them so they don't claim Los Angeles, not literally because we all know purple and gold, Laker Nation is all about L.A. L.A. will never change in that regard, but I'm just saying they love their basketball and they want to be watching basketball in May and June. And if the Clippers are playing and the Lakers are not, well, oh well. So to me, this is it for LeBron James. This is it. This is his last stand. What you gonna do? What you gonna do to derail the Clippers? What you gonna do to keep up? What you gonna do to make sure that you ain't the worst team in California behind the Clippers, behind the Golden State Warriors, behind the Sacramento Kings? What you gonna do? We gonna find out. Those are my top 5 storylines going into the second half of this season, okay? Now that All-Star break is mercilessly over. Up next, you know him as the Chuckster, Sir Charles, a host of other things. He's now known as King Charles, in case you haven't noticed, on CNN with Gayle King, giving his political commentary of all things. There's a lot to talk to my next guest about, and I can't wait for this. It's a 2-parter, y'all. The first part is coming to you in just a second. Yours truly with the one and only Charles Barkley up next, right here on the Stephen A. Smith Show. Be right back. Okay, everybody, you know what time it is. It's time for Stephen A.'s weekly sports picks. You see, I've teamed up with Prize Picks to bring you my favorite picks on every big-time game or sporting event. Prize Picks is a skill-based, real-money, daily fantasy sports game where you select 2 or more players and predict if they'll have more or less than their stat projections for the game. It's not only super exciting, but incredibly easy to play. It takes only 60 seconds to make your picks, y'all. Pick the stats for Caitlin Clark, Messi, LeBron, or even Tiger Woods, and then sit back and watch. And if you go to prizepicks.com right now and use promo code SAS, you'll receive a 100% deposit bonus up to $100. You heard me. Go to prizepicks.com, type in my initials SAS for a first-time deposit, match up to $100. Pick more, pick less. It's that easy. Now let's look at my winning picks. First up, will Trae Young have more than 1.5 40-plus point games the rest of the season? I say yes. Atlanta may not play defense sometimes, but they certainly put up buckets. And when he gets loose and he gets hot, he's got free reign. He's got the green light. And you're talking about 30-plus games remaining in the season. Can Trae Young put up plus 40 in 1.5 of those games? I'm going to go with more. That's where I'm going to go with. Next up, Luka Doncic for the Dallas Mavericks will have more than 4.5 40-plus point games the rest of this season. He's Luka. I'm going to say, yeah, he did drop 73 in Atlanta. He does score 40 in his sleep. The primary shooters are really him and Kyrie Irving, and you can sprinkle in, I'm just looking at Tim Hardaway Jr. So I'm going to say yes. Luka's going to have about 6 or 7 40-plus games left in the season. I'm going to go with more, okay? Next up, Draymond Green will have more than 10.5 10-plus point games the rest of this season. False. I don't think Draymond is concerned about that at all. I think that he'll have a few 10-plus point games, but it ain't going to amount to more than 10.5. I'm going to go with less. Less for Draymond Green on that one. I'm sorry. And last but not least, Nikola Jokic will have less than 8.5 triple-doubles the rest of this season. I'm going to go with less. He'll have plenty of double-doubles. But triple-doubles, as in 8, nah, I don't think that's going to happen. Nikola Jokic is going to do his thing. But more than 8.5 triple-doubles the rest of this season, I think that's a lot to ask if you're talking about just the regular season. If you're including the playoffs, the answer would be more. But since you're not including the playoffs, it's just the regular season, I'm going to say less than the 8.5 triple-doubles the rest of the season. All right? That's it. Those are my picks. You know they're a winner. I'm pretty good at this, ain't I? My guest is a host of the Emmy Award-winning show Inside the NBA on TNT and King Charles on CNN with the wonderful Gayle King. Please welcome my brother, the one and only Sir Charles himself, the Chuckster, the one and only Charles Barkley. What's up, big time? How are you, man? How's everything?
Man, everything is good. All-Star Weekend is like the official beginning of the end for us, so I'm excited. We go, run down. I go right into March Madness soon. Then I head into the playoffs, and then I get my 4 months vacation. So when you start the season in October, man, you don't see the light at the end of the tunnel. But once you get to All-Star game and March Madness, the playoffs, you can see those 4 months of playing golf and fishing every day. So I am ready.
Some people have sat up there and looked at some of these players, particularly this All-Star weekend, and thought they already had their vacation plans. But since you brought up your 4 months off that you're going to have, where you going for your 4 months? Where you going to be hanging out, Sir Charles? What's your plans?
Hey, brother, I'm in Philly all summer. It's too, as much as I love living in Arizona, I am not going to be out there when it's hot as hell. So I'm in Philly all summer. I play golf every day, do a little fishing, going down to Georgia, Alabama. But the main thing I do, man, is just chill and play golf.
Man, let me get to the All-Star weekend because I had Kenny on the other day, your partner in crime on Inside the NBA and TNT, and obviously he couldn't deny the level of competition or lack thereof as a former perennial All-Star in this game and a Hall of Famer in this game. What were your thoughts of what you saw, particularly Sunday night for the All-Star game where 397 points were scored and somebody scored 211?
Yeah, it's changed. I think the biggest change, Stephen A., these guys make so much money. They talk about the old days. Well, I'm from the old days. Getting a nice chunk for winning or losing a game meant something because we were only making a couple $1 million. But when you got guys making 30, 40, 50, $60 million, like, I don't even know how much they get now, but it's still probably chump change to those guys. And they're like, hey, I'm not going to get hurt out here. I'm just going to break a sweat for the weekend and things like that. So, listen, we've already killed the Pro Bowl because there's no way to play an exhibition at full speed. Could it be a little bit better? Yeah, it could be a little bit better. But you got guys taking 23s and not trying to get in the way of guys dunking. Everybody's trying to throw alley-oop passes. It's
Right.
never going to be Game 7 intensity. I wish they could just ramp it up a little bit more. But, man, these guys have so much to lose nowadays. It's tough to get any energy in the game.
I'm surprised you say that, though,
Oh, I
Charles,
didn't
because
say
you
I
talk
didn't
about them
like it
having
now.
so much to lose.
I know. I did not say I didn't like it. I didn't say it.
I know.
Yeah, I would love to see it be a little bit more competitive. But like I said, you got guys out there. I would love to see a stat. I really would, and I know we could do it another time.
Hmm.
I
Hmm.
bet the least guy in the game was making $25 million this year. I would love to see that number. I really going out on a limb. I'm trying to think. I guarantee you, there's no guy. I shouldn't guarantee it. There's probably no guy
Right.
played in the game made less than $15 million this weekend.
I get that. But listen to where I'm going with this. Because when you look at players like yourself and various others, predecessors, stars who contributed to selling the league, Larry Bird sold the league, Magic Johnson sold the league, Michael Jordan sold the league, you sold the league. I wonder how you feel when you see guys that you basically played a role in helping get this
Yeah.
money be about protecting themselves so they could get more money when they've already made generational money. And before you answer that question, I got a stat I'm going to throw at you. NBA All-Stars playing at least 65 games, okay? 20 seasons ago, 92% of the All-Stars played at least 65 games in the season. 10 years ago, 88% played at least 65 games in the season. 5 years ago, 78% played at least 65 games in the season. This year, it's projected at 59%.
Yeah, it's really unfortunate, but these guys have all became businessmen. Number one, it's an honor and a privilege to play in the NBA. You're the best of the best, and your job is to play. You know, this load management thing is an awful situation. I've said before, I'm pretty damn sure teachers and nurses don't want to go to work sometimes because their back, their ankle, it's cold as hell, there's a snowstorm. But I'm pretty sure teachers go to work every day and nurses go to work every day. I actually thought they should have put the minimum at 70 games personally. To play a
Mm.
stupid game like basketball 3 or 4 days a week to make 40, $50 million is the best job in the world. It's the best job in the world. We're not playing football. Those are real men out there, and football's dangerous. You know, baseball is, you play 162 games. Hockey, they don't get paid what we get paid. We have the best job in the world by far. I truly mean it. I'm not just saying it because I'm on your show. We have the best job. We work 8 months a year basically. We work 3 days a week, maybe four, and we're the luckiest dudes in the world to do what we do. We're so lucky and blessed. And I'm an old guy. Stephen A., I remember the first time, and I'm not talking about me, and I'm talking about Dr. J, Moses, Maurice Cheeks, Bobby Jones, those guys. I remember the first time a guy made $1 million. We were walking around the locker room high-fiving each other. We could not believe that an NBA player made $1 million. And now the
Mm.
average salary is $10 million. But the reason load management and all this other BS started was, hey, if you can extend your career another 2, 3 years, you're talking about 50 to 75, $100 million, depending on who you are. These guys, you get all these nerds out there talking, well, it's been proven that guys, if they get rest, not man, please stop it. Guys
Yeah,
play,
these analytics
yeah, yeah,
dudes.
yeah. Guys played the whole and crappy. Well, I shouldn't say crappy. I want to piss Nike off. They got the best. They got the best shoes they ever had today. They got the best medical stuff they've ever had today. They've got the best flying situation. I tell this all the time. I used to travel sometime, and I get to a city, and the trainer, Al Domenico, said, I said, Al, I can't lift my shoulder. And he'd be like, what's wrong, Rook? He said, man, I had this old lady leaning on me the whole flight today. And I didn't have the nerve to wake this old lady up. She was so comfortable on my big fat arm. These guys never have to worry about flying commercial. So I think when they add load management and when I see a guy just like resting, I'm like, come on, man. Come on,
Mm.
that's ridiculous. And listen, I understand sometimes you get tired, you got something hurt, but play 30 minutes. Don't sit out the whole game. And especially
Right.
especially when you're only going to be in an arena one time a year. Like if you know that you're going to go west or east one time a year, that's the only time some fans going to get a chance to see you play. And the ticket prices are ridiculous. If you bring a family and you're talking hundreds and hundreds of dollars. If you add in ticket prices, if you therefore God forbid you want something to eat or drink. So, man, I just hate the fact where we are now, where these guys don't appreciate. We showed this story the other day about those guys were going to boycott the All-Star game, the first one. I think it was 1957, somewhere like that. Those guys wasn't making no money, and they still played all the time. They were going on buses and trains and everything. I always felt like it was an obligation me try to play anytime I was healthy. And let me tell you something. There's sometimes some things hurt. You still go play. Once the game gets going, you good to go. You got all your energy. Your adrenaline kicks in. You might have to take a shot every now and then. But these guys have abused this load management stuff. And listen, they got people telling them like, yo, man, if you only play X amount of games, you can add another couple years to your career. And I understand it's going to be a ton of money. I tell you what's going to be interesting, Stephen. Our contract with ESPN and TNT is getting ready to come up
That's
in
right.
another year.
The NBA deal.
Yes. So,
TV rights deal.
so we got three guys making over $60 million a year. We both pay about $2.5 billion a year. We already know the next bidding is going to start at $4 billion. And then Amazon and Apple are coming in.
Yep.
We're going to have guys probably making 70, 80, 90, $100 million in the next 5 years. That's going to be crazy. Number one, God bless them. But think about that. We got three guys making over 60. And when we double the TV revenue and put it on more platforms, we're going to have guys making 70, 80, 90, probably $100 million in the next 5 to 10 years. Number one, God bless them, but I wish they appreciate how lucky they are because the two most important people in NBA history are Magic Johnson and Larry Bird. Those guys saved the NBA. The NBA was too black, a bunch of thugs, a bunch of druggies, and Magic Johnson and Larry Bird changed the whole thing. And every time I see Magic and Bird, I tell them, thank you, man. Because, everybody think the NBA has always been like, well, hey, you come in, you're going to make a lot of money. No. When I got in '85, the average salary was $250,000. That's $250,000. Like I say, I told you, like 3 or 4 years later, I can't remember exactly when, we saw the first guy make $1 million. And now guys
Yes.
coming in.
Magic Johnson. How about the 25-year, $25 million deal he got from Dr. Jerry Buss?
That was the first time.
That was Magic
That
Johnson.
was the first time an NBA player made $1 million. And like I say, we were walking around we were around high fiving each other, man. We couldn't believe that an NBA player could make $1 million. And now these guys are so lucky and blessed, and they can't play basketball 3 or 4 days a week. And I know they hide behind all the analytical bullshit from their agents and people like that. What they're really trying to do is extend their career. Because, like I say, the way the money's been and going, you probably, depending on who you are, you're going to be able to make another 50, 70, $100 million and probably more going forward if you can extend your career 2 or 3 years. Do I blame them? Yeah, I do blame them because, yo, man, you have an obligation to all the guys you mentioned earlier who didn't make any money. It's an interesting thing. And these guys are more businessmen today instead. In my opinion, I think they're more business.
Instead of basketball
They
players.
don't want to be great. They want all the trappings. They want to make all the money and things. But I'm not sure how many of them. I mean, obviously the elite guys, but a couple of the elite guys want to be great players. But you wonder if some of these guys who were just born into money, because they're not great players. Let's be realistic. I ain't gonna call no names, but you people see who are watching the game. Some of these guys can't play dead in a Western movie.
I got you. Barkley, let me hold you right there because it's a special. This is just a nugget of what folks are going to get. I'm going to be airing a special with you in a couple of days. I want you to hold right there, the one and only Charles Barkley. You heard him. You heard what he had to say. That's just touching on what's coming next. So stick around. You're listening live to the Stephen A. Smith Show. Back with more in a minute. Everyone knows I demand excellence, and I'm in it to win it. So that's why I've teamed up with Prize Picks, America's #1 fantasy sports app, to help turn my sports knowledge into some big-time money. Prize Picks is a daily fantasy app where you simply choose 2 or more of your favorite players, pick more or less on their projected stats, and then submit your entry in less time than it'll take Steph Curry to dribble up the court and hit a long-range game-winning 3. So every basket, rebound, and assist gets bigger each week. Download the PrizePicks app today and join a community of more than 3 million members. And if you do, PrizePicks will match your first-time deposit of up to $100. Yeah, that's right. You heard me. Go to prizepicks.com right now and use code SAS. My initials, of course, in case you didn't figure that out. Just use promo code SAS on PrizePicks to receive a first deposit match of up to $100 and then let the games begin. PrizePicks. Pick more. Pick less. It's that easy. Welcome back to the Stephen A. Smith Show right here over the digital airwaves of YouTube. Thanks again to the great one himself, Charles Barkley. Can't wait until part 2 of that interview in its entirety. Something far lengthier than the conversation that we just had airs this Friday. Make sure you don't miss it. Let me get to a couple of subjects before I get on out of here for the day, okay? And one would involve Chicago Bears quarterback Justin Fields. In case you haven't heard the news, he's unfollowed the Bears, his team, and now follows these players that happen to be on the Atlanta Falcons. Bijan Robinson, Drake London, Kyle Pitts. Fields' trade value is no longer worth just a second-round pick, and so far teams showing the most interest in Justin Fields appear to be the Pittsburgh Steelers, who have the 20th pick in this year's NFL draft. There's a lot of people that think that he should go to Atlanta. It's an ideal spot. He's from that area, London, Pitts, Robinson, all can ball, et cetera, but they don't have Mike Tomlin as their coach. They don't have that. Now, if you Justin Fields, here's the question. Do you want competition or don't you? Because playing against New Orleans and Tampa and North Carolina, meaning Derek Carr and Baker Mayfield and Bryce Young, is a little bit different than playing against Deshaun Watson, Joe Burrow, and Lamar Jackson. Do you want the competition or not? What's up? That's what this comes down to. And, of course, money. Now, to me, my attitude is very, very simple. I like Justin Fields a lot. He's a dual threat. I think he's had some rough patches because I think that he was working in purgatory as far as I'm concerned. Ryan Poles didn't pick him, okay? And you got Eberflus as the coach. And I don't know if that's the ideal head coach for you on the offensive side of the ball. I'm not sure about him. But in the end, when I look at the Pittsburgh Steelers, especially since they just picked up Arthur Smith, the former head coach in Atlanta, as their offensive coordinator, who's done some good things in his career, particularly with Ryan Tannehill in a lot of people's eyes in Tennessee, that might be something worth considering. All I'm thinking about is Justin Fields being a dual quarterback, a quarterback who can run and throw the football in Pittsburgh. That would be nice to have. Because God knows Mitchell Trubisky ain't it. Neither is Kenny Pickett. I'm not sold on them at all. And don't get me started with Mason Rudolph. Steelers need the damn quarterback. They need a quarterback. And I would prefer we not have to go the route of Russell Wilson, who's getting about $39 million from Denver no matter what. And they're definitely going to get him off their roster. They don't, because they don't want to commit to another $35+ million after next season to him. They don't want that problem. So Russell Wilson would be moving on, and he'd be a better option than what the Steelers have available to them now. But if you could get Justin Fields, you get Justin Fields. That's what I wanted to say about the Pittsburgh Steelers, because I'm thinking about Freiermuth. I'm thinking about Najee Harris. I'm thinking about Warren, Jalen Warren, that running back, that evasive running back. I'm thinking about Pickens. I'm thinking about the weapons they have like Deontay Johnson and these brothers and the Steelers defense. Give me an offense that could give me some damn points and they'll make some noise. Steelers were in the playoffs this year with those quarterbacks I mentioned. They made the playoffs. That's all you need to know. Moving on, I wanted to get to something about Micah Parsons. Because when I think about Micah Parsons, there's a few things that's been getting on my nerves as it pertains to him. Now, we had a player in DeMarcus Lawrence that came on First Take when we were in Las Vegas for Super Bowl week and spoke about being fatigued. Micah Parsons didn't like that. He spoke out about that. And lo and behold, what we saw was an uproar ever since then. Before I go any further, let's listen exactly to what Micah Parsons had to say.
Yes, I agree that teams play us like the Super Bowl. We are the Dallas Cowboys. But in the end, that's not a good enough reason or excuse to say that publicly. If you say it to someone else, you know what I'm saying, like one-on-one, you know what I'm saying, cameras off, sure, be my guest. But when I feel like once that regular season end and they get in a playoff, you supposed to get rejuvenated. Like, this is a whole new me, whole new you. Like, we need to get ready. And that's part of that culture stuff where I was talking about, where I want to dive into the players that we got to change. Like, it should never, you should never go into a game like I'm tired, like I'm ready to go home. Because that's exactly what's going to happen, and it did happen.
What's the problem? What's the problem? That was Micah Parsons on my podcast, NBA All-Star Weekend, just a few days ago. What's the problem? Micah Parsons is saying that come playoff time, you got to be ready. You got to be rejuvenated. And nobody want to hear about fatigue. It's a new season. It's a championship on the line. Nobody's trying to hear about fatigue. And then you got people here saying, just be quiet. You go ahead and play. Well, Micah Parsons is a stud. The brother can ball. And we know that whether Dak is going to get his money or CeeDee Lamb going to get his money, we damn sure know Micah Parsons deserves his money. You see him getting double and triple teamed. I'm not saying he couldn't have played better. But we know he's not the problem on the Dallas Cowboys. Don't give me that. And if anybody is going to answer that question, he should answer it. And let's be careful. This is the thing that bothers me. We want to tell athletes, be honest, be upfront. And then when they are honest and upfront, we want to condemn them for their honesty. Now, if you disagree with his decision, they weren't tired. We ain't trying to hear that, bro. You got to do it. All right, that's different. But to literally make an issue and make headlines out of the fact that he said he doesn't agree with his teammate who said they were tired, that's not something you say publicly. That's not something anybody wants to hear. That speaks to our culture, because what he's saying is, how comfortable are you that you're going to go out publicly and admit, yo, we were just exhausted. We were gassed. Come playoff time. I don't blame him one bit. Not one bit. And I just think it's much ado about nothing. I'll tell you what's significant and what matters is that Dak Prescott's in line to get $60 million. Ladies and gentlemen, I ask a fair, honest question. I do like Dak. Dak is just, oh my God, he's the perfect model citizen. He says all the right things. He dresses correctly for press conferences. He articulates himself well. He's polished. He's non-offensive. He just gets along with everybody. I ask one simple question for everybody and all parties concerned. All parties concerned. What has Dak Prescott done to deserve $60 million? Dak Prescott has 2 playoff victories in 8 years. 2. I'm going to look it up right now just to make sure that I got it right, because I know I'm not hallucinating. You see what I'm saying? I don't understand. What am I missing? I'm just looking at Dak Prescott right here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That's 8 full years this man has been in place. Ladies and gentlemen, you have to win a minimum of 3, in most cases 4 playoff games in a season to win a Super Bowl championship. He has 2 in 8 years. His record is 2-4. Are you about winning or are you not? See, to me, when you work in a league with a hard salary cap, when you get the kind of money that takes away from others' ability to get paid, you need to be the Patrick Mahomes type, Joe Burrow type, Lamar Jackson type, Josh Allen type. You know why I say that? Because they don't just perform their box office. And because their box office, in certain respects, although there's a hard cap there, you basically pay for yourself because you bring in extra dough. Not that the NFL needs it, because all the teams making money hand over foot. But it does help to have box office appeal. You, Dak Prescott, it's the Cowboys. It don't matter who's quarterbacking the Cowboys if they win in football games. You come in to support the Cowboys. Dak Prescott hasn't won anything. We heard from him the last day, and ever since then, we ain't heard anything from him. There's an APB out for his ass. Can't find him. That's what happens when you lose. And that's the case with him. And Micah Parsons came to his defense. Oh, my Lord. I mean, how much he found every reason under the sun to defend Dak Prescott. Good luck with that, CeeDee Lamb. You know, you arguing with Dak on the sidelines during Green Bay when they were whipping y'all ass because I don't care about that final 48-32 score. You were down 48-16 on your home turf. Shut the hell up, all of y'all. Not you, CeeDee Lamb. I'm just speaking collectively. All of y'all be quiet. You're getting your ass kicked. Come on now. I'm Dak Prescott shouldn't be the first $60 million quarterback. That should be Patrick Mahomes. Dak Prescott hasn't proven he can win. That's all I'm trying to say. At some point in time, are we going to be real about it? I would like us to. I truly, truly would. Before I get on out of here, a couple of quick hitters I want to throw in y'all direction, okay? Beyonce. Have you seen this girl? I mean, it is spectacular. I mean, she's topping the country music charts now. The country music charts. I got to give love and credit and respect where it's due. She is just somebody who is absolutely positively fabulous. I got nothing but love for this girl. Plain and simple. She is special, you know? And I'm just looking at this stuff right now and the kind of stuff that she brings to the table. Beyonce. Look at this graphic up here, y'all. Billboard charts, Beyonce has been number one on. Hot 100, hot country songs, hot dance electronic songs, hot gospel songs, hot Latin songs, hot R&B songs, hot R&B and hip hop songs. Ladies and gentlemen, she's the greatest. I love Taylor Swift. I loved her concert. It was off the chain. She ain't no Beyonce. And I love the Swifties. And I support Taylor Swift. And wherever the hell her and Travis Kelce are, man, you earned it. Enjoy yourself. Okay? And Taylor Swift, enjoy yourself, girl. You deserve it. You earned it. But there's only one Beyonce. There's only one Beyonce. I just want to make sure everybody reminded of that. In country music, if folks stop acting like you hating. You understand what I'm saying? If you love it, listen, Dolly Parton's great. Okay? But she's older now, even though she looks fantastic for her age. You know, but there's so many. Let's just say this. It is safe to say, country music ain't never seen nothing like Beyonce. You ain't never seen nothing like Beyonce. A performer like that. You understand what I'm saying? Grab your partner, do-si-do. I mean, what do you want me to say? I don't know no damn country music song other than Kenny Rogers. You got to know when to hold them. Okay? I mean, that's what it is. My father used to sing that all the time. Know when to fold 'em. Know when to walk away. Know when to run. See, you didn't think I knew that, did you? But my daddy showed me that. Still, he wasn't Beyonce either. Take this from me, all you country music lovers out there. Embrace that woman. She might sing more country music songs for you. And then take you out and teach you how to dance. You didn't think about that one, did you? Last point I wanted to get to was this tattoo by Machine Gun Kelly. Have y'all seen this? Because I have. I'm just looking at this right now. And I'm just saying to myself, my man, you got something you want to tell us? You got something you want to tell us? I mean, there's a whole bunch of people that want to be black. Is that what you're doing? Is that what you're doing? I mean, if he had more on his face, they would have been accusing him of something because he looked like he walking around in blackface. No, he ain't walking around in blackface. He's walking around in black body. His arms, his chest area, his lower extremities, his black, you know, his legs, hips, all his. What's up with that? Those tattoos. I don't get it. But it is America. And there is an audience for that. And if it works for them, more power to them. I don't know what the hell this thing. He says, I want change. It's a homeless man sitting down and says, I want change. That's what it says. Well, I guess that's for a good cause. Brings attention. I guess it does. Stephen A. Smith, that's my Twitter handle. For those of you who wanted to tweet me, before I got on out of here for the day. And I'm going to read a couple of these. Let's get to some of these tweets right here. First up, I got to put my glasses on because of this small fine print here. It says here, at Easy Money Cam 1 writes, Stephen A., who do you think is the best scarer, not scorer, scarer between Randall Boggs and Sully Sullivan? First of all, his name is really not Sully Sullivan. It's James P. Sullivan. You didn't think I knew that, did you? Okay? That's his real name, James P. Sullivan, okay? Not Sully Sullivan. So let's get that out of the way first. Randall, generational scarer. I get all of that. But Sully, I got to say he's the GOAT. That's what I got to go with, Rand. Randall tried harder, but it just came more natural to Sully. So I think we go with that. Bigger, scarier as well. Sully's the one in that one. Sorry, got to go with that. Next one, at JCitySTL, as in St. Louis. You get to roll with one of the Teletubbies for a day. Who you rolling with? Pooh, Lala, Dipsy, or Dinky Winky? I'm going with Dipsy. I like the color green and a darker complexion. What can I say? It works for me. That's what I'm rolling with, okay? Let's roll with the next one. At Joel9 and 1 spelled out, O-N-E. Do women really like edible arrangements? There's really no way to answer this question but the way I'm going to answer it. This is YouTube. Women really liking edible arrangements? The answer is it depends on your intent with the edible arrangements. It's just that simple. I don't have to say any more than that. Use your imagination. Last but not least, at Nick Central writes, best basketball movie out of my 5 favorites below. White Man Can't Jump, Eddie, He Got Game, Jesus Shuttlesworth, Love and Basketball, or Semi-Pro? This is the easiest question I've been asked. Love and Basketball. Omar Epps and the wonderful, incomparable Sanaa Lathan. That movie was fantastic. That movie was fantastic. You want me to tell you something? Because Omar Epps is a friend of mine. It's my brother. I got a lot of love for him. He was just in Raising Cain and did a great job acting in that, by the way. But let me say this to y'all, please, about love and basketball, because I'm going to say something I've never heard anybody say, and I don't know if anybody ever said it, ever broke it down to y'all. As much as I love that movie, and that movie is definitely one on the list, He Got Game would be number 2 with Spike Lee and Ray Allen and all of that. Okay, I get that. But Woody Harrelson and oh my goodness, Wesley Snipes and White Men Can't Jump. I mean, that was great too, you know. But Woody Harrelson was just a mess. Okay, but Wesley Snipes, you know, he's not really a baller. I liked him better in the movie with the train with them two and Jennifer Lopez. I thought they were great in that more so than White Men Can't Jump, but that's just me. Let me say this to you, okay? And also the guy that starred as Beretta, he was in that movie with J-Lo and Woody Harrelson and Wesley Snipes. That was a good movie. It really was. Let me say this to you about love and basketball, because I never heard anybody say this, but I'm going to say this. I really had, as much as I loved that movie, and I think was it Alfre Woodard that was in the movie? Or it wasn't her. Oh my goodness, I forget who it was. I apologize. It's not Alfre Woodard. I think so. I'll remember. It'll come back to me. That was played Sanaa Lathan's mom in the movie. Omar Epps in the movie. His father. I was always offended by that storyline. His father did not do right by his wife, who, by the way, is a fabulous actress. She used to act on All My Children, the soap opera years ago, by the way. And the father used to be the president on 24 when he got assassinated. I think that was like season 3, all right? Let me tell y'all something, man. This really offended me, this storyline. And I've never heard anybody say this about Love and Basketball, but I'm going to say it. Alfre Woodard, I had it right. All right? And who was the father? I'm looking at one of my producers here, Michael. Who's the father? No, that was not Omar Epps' father in Love and Basketball. But it'll come to me. What I don't like about it, Dennis Haysbert. That's it. See what I'm saying? You know, I'm going to pray for you, bro. Here's the deal. What really bothered me, he did not do right by his wife, but he was a marvelous father. He was always there. He supported his son. He loved his son. He pushed for education. He loved Omar Epps, his son. And the mom busted the dad, had pictures of him with his mistress, and as a result was crying by the poolside, and she hugs on her son, and the son hates his dad and don't speak to him for years. Don't want him around, and none of that. You see, that ain't right. That ain't right. Now, if you're hitting on his mama, that's different. You got to die. My father had ever hit my mother, it'd have been lights, so it'd have been over. That never happened. But their personal relationship, as trifling as he was with her, when it came to infidelity, the movie just said, the hell with you as a father. You didn't measure up as a husband, so the hell with you. That ain't right. I think in a movie like that, Love and Basketball, you could be very disappointed in your father. You could go without speaking to him for a while. You can do all of those things. But to paint the father as the total villain when you showed him being an excellent father, I mean, you didn't want her anymore. You should have left her. You shouldn't have mistreated her by cheating on her. Fair enough. But to just ostracize him because of that as a father, and to have Omar Epps leaving school early, going to the pros prematurely, damaging his knee and compromising his entire career when that was his father's primary fear. I just didn't like that stuff part of the storyline. That's just me. But anyway, I'm going to get on out of here. That's it for today's edition of the Stephen A. Smith Show. Thank y'all for joining me. Hope y'all enjoyed the show. I know that I did. Remember, Charles Barkley, full interview. Oh, does he have a whole bunch to say about sports and politics. Oh, my goodness, you don't want to miss that. That's Friday's show. Until then, y'all, this is Stephen A. signing off. Peace and love, everybody. Talk to you later.